All right, welcome back to the Boston Celtics newsfeed. This is Celtics Roundtable. We are powered by CLNS Radio, here to preview Game 1 and really the Wizards series as a whole. And we're going to be talking about some of the key things that we're going to be looking for in this series. I'm Matt Ignal, joined by Jonathan Levy, my brother Jonathan, and Lucky's Pipe, that's Tom. So we talked a little bit about how the Celtics might defend using Isaiah Thomas. We talked about how it's going to be difficult for them to hide Isaiah. Do you see the Celtics going with more of a zone like they did some at times against the Bulls? Do you see them just sort of riding it out and having Isaiah Thomas guard against a bigger player, or do you think that they'll just sort of sick him on Wall? What do you think, Levy?
I think they're going to have him play Bradley Beal a lot. I think
really?
Wall was a crusher in the Atlanta series. He scored 4 more points per game in the Atlanta series than he did in the regular season. Shot the ball extremely well also. Really high usage rate. 11 assists as well as his 27 points. Over 50% from 3. I mean, 8 free throws as well. I mean, just destroying people. I don't see how I think John Wall's plan right now is to put the whole team on his back as it was in the first round, and I just don't think it's going to work out. So for the Celtics to have Isaiah on him. So I think they're going to hide Isaiah maybe a few different ways, but I think primarily he's just cannot guard Wall. Wall's just going to take him to the hoop every time and use his size, because of course he's 6'4" and Isaiah's 5'3", I think. It's hard to remember. I don't think it's going to work as well. I think the Wizards are going to be a little bit more savvy to it. So I expect him to just D up the shooters.
And is anyone else worried about Isaiah Thomas on Bradley Beal?
Yes. Marcus Smart really struggled with him. Avery Bradley, too.
He got Bradley Beal torched Marcus Smart.
Bradley Beal's a little too quick.
Flummoxed.
Yeah, Marcus struggles with the extremely quick first step shooters. And Bradley Beal is just, as you mentioned, I think last pod, such a potent offensive player. I'm kind of leaning towards what the Celtics did in the regular season, although it had mixed results. I'd like to see Isaiah on Otto Porter. Make Otto Porter beat you. He didn't have a very good second half of the season, and I'd much rather Otto Porter shooting a shot over Isaiah Thomas than Bradley Beal.
Yeah, I like starting Isaiah on Otto, and he's probably going to get switched off him onto either Wall or Beal eventually somewhere in the offense. And I actually liked at the end of the series, even though Isaiah couldn't shoot, he was man defending Butler decently in the post, giving up 8 inches or whatever it is.
You know, that's an interesting little wrinkle, because let's say you throw Isaiah on Porter, that means you're going to go Avery Bradley on John Wall, and the same problem Marcus had on Brad Beal is a little more exaggerated with Jake Crowder, who's not super.
Oh, I think it would be Gerald Green.
Oh, well, that's a recipe for a disaster.
I mean, it could be. I imagine Brad Stevens is going to go with Gerald Green to start. But, I think you're right. I mean, Jay Crowder, I just don't know if he's got the foot speed, to keep up with Bradley Beal. As you mentioned, he is really quick, and he can launch it with even a hand in his face.
I could see Stevens go back to the original starting lineup, too. I mean, he was very consistent with Amir and Horford at the same time. Horford likes to play with Amir, and I think he's going to at least try it to start.
I expect Amir will get some playing time. I don't think he's going to start the first game, but I think he will come off the bench as opposed to getting 0 minutes as he has the last several games now.
Yeah, another matchup I'm looking forward to is Marcin Gortat versus Al Horford, because Gortat had a really rough first round. He averaged only 7.4 points in the postseason. And he just he hasn't looked very good. And when Al Horford sets that high screen for Isaiah, I think they're going to use the same tactic where set the screen a little higher than they've previously been doing. It's going to be interesting to see how, when he switched onto him, how Gortat will respond.
All right. The second round is here, and the Celtics are going to be taking on the Washington Wizards. And if you want to get tickets to this playoff series, be sure to download the SeatGeek ticketing app, which is both the smartest and easiest way to buy and sell tickets to Celtics games. With just 2 taps using SeatGeek's seamless mobile experience, in mere seconds you can buy and sell tickets, and it doesn't just end with the Celtics or any other NBA game. SeatGeek also has plenty of concert, comedy, and theater tickets available too, and it's all fully guaranteed. Listeners to CLNS Radio can support this production and get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. Here's how you do it. You download the free SeatGeek app, go to the Settings tab, and click Add a Promo Code. Then enter the promo code CELTSNEWS, all one word, and SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the free SeatGeek app and enter the promo code CELTSNEWS today. Yeah, I mean, all of this I think that we're talking about is just just illustrates how much of a different team this is than the Bulls. They're a lot better, for one. I think that's probably the main difference. And they pose, I guess, a lot more matchup problems than the often predictable Chicago Bulls. But this isn't a great team. The Wizards were 49-33, not a very good point differential over the course of the regular season. They were 7th in offense, 20th in defense. So, while we're talking about how the Celtics going to guard them, the Wizards may be asking that same question about the Celtics on the other end, because the Wizards are not a good defensive team. These teams don't like each other very much.
Well, here's the thing. You brought up Horford versus Gortat. I think Horford's played really well versus the Wizards. He's averaging 18 points versus them, which is a lot more than his season average in versus most teams. So I think he can get it done. I think it's going to be a big series for him.
Yeah, Gortat's a little bit like Lopez, right? He's 32 years old. He shouldn't be able to guard Isaiah Thomas in space. My guess would be that the Wizards will run into a lot of the same problems with Gortat on there. We could see a lot of points being put up.
I would take Robin Lopez defense over Gortat any day, and I think that's going to be their biggest struggle, is they don't have much of any post defense. Morris really, he's interesting, but he's not a defender. He can get hot sometimes.
But to me, the thing that's really important in this series is we have to see more of playoff Al Horford. I expect Isaiah Thomas is going to bounce back. I expect the other guys to give what they normally give or a little bit more. But Al Horford has to keep going the way he's been for the Celtics to win this series. He cannot allow Gortat to dominate on the boards. Gortat averages double-digit rebounds for the season, and of course Horford averaged less than 7. So he's going to have to be the man. He's been against the Bulls where he got 9 a game. He's going to have to keep that up and fight for everything. We can see that from Al Horford. I think the Celtics win this series, but he has to deliver that.
I foresee a lot of small ball, again, from both teams in this series. Gortat's just going to be unable to guard Isaiah Thomas, and may not provide the sort of offense, I guess, that the Wizards are looking for, that they could get out of a stretch big or playing Markieff Morris at that center spot or something like that. It should be a really fun series. I was excited for the Bulls one, but this one is, I think it's just going to dwarf it in terms of intensity and maybe just quality of play for the viewing audience.
Over under how many games do the Wizards wear black? 2? Is it just home games for them?
Matt,
how do they do that?
Don't put this on the pod, but I was actually thinking about that today. Do the Wizards stoop that low and go to the funeral game with everything that's going on?
No, there's no way.
No, I don't see
way.
them doing it. That's crossing this. The timing's wrong. I understand that their intent isn't bad, but it's too. No, I don't think they'll stoop that low.
The Wizards also. When the Wizards wore black, the players were laughing about it before the game. They weren't all serious about it. They thought it was just a funny little stunt that they did. So it was more for the fans, and the fans took it more seriously than the players themselves.
You can actually put that on the call. Right,
yeah,
Matt?
The fact that they did call it the funeral game, that's probably why I don't think they're going to go back to that well.
Man, it's going to be so different from guarding the Bulls. I wonder if the Celtics might just come out a little bit shell-shocked. The Wizards got a taste of the Celtics playing against the Atlanta Hawks. They play a pretty similar style. The Bulls and Wizards couldn't be more different. There might be an adjustment period. The Celtics, it's going to be more, I guess, of a mental task, just sticking with their shooters, whereas the Bulls, it was just sort of a more physical task. Can you match this team's physicality? Here you gotta find their guys on the perimeter.
Yeah. So another key for me is I think the Celtics learned their lesson after the first couple games of the Bulls series. And it's definitely going to be exaggerated with the Wizards and how they play. The Celtics need to get back on defense. I think they figured it out with the Bulls, but the way John Wall can just throw these passes and how fast he is dribbling the ball up the court and how he can pass it and just sprint up the court and beat everyone else down, they have to get back every single possession. And again, if you miss a layup, it's going to be 2 points on the other end with the Wizards. So you really got to play smart with these guys.
Guys, this is the Celtics finals, essentially. They're not getting past the Cavs if they win this series. This is as far the Eastern Conference Finals is as far as they can go unless LeBron, gets jackhammered by a lead pipe or something like that. So to me, this is what we've all been waiting for. This is what we've been looking for. Is this level of series.
Well, Lucky's pipe is here, so maybe he'll bring his and beat some LeBron James.
There you go. I want to believe, but I do not believe. So to me, this is great because the East, actually the playoffs in general, looked like it got a little rocky there in the East in the first round for both the Raptors and the Celtics. But we have the 4 best teams moving on. 4 teams that deserve to be in the second round in the East are there, and they should be really great series. And, I really hope the Celtics can pull this out. I think they're going to. I think they're going to be able to beat the Wizards. They got home court advantage, and they're probably a little bit of a better team. They have definitely a better coach. I believe that much anyway.
Yeah, just quickly looking at the stats, the team stats for the Celtics and Wizards is very close. Like, offensive rating is pretty much neck and neck, almost identical. The big swing is the Celtics defensive rating, about a point better than the Wizards. So I think it's going to come down to it seems too simple, but the defense that they can play on Wall and Beal. How many games can, if Wall score 40, if they can limit that to like 2, then I think we're going to be good.
Yeah, I actually think that defensive stat is actually more biased in favor of the Celtics, who sort of turned on their defense as the season went along and really did a great job against the Bulls, whereas the Wizards struggled against Atlanta. I mean, remember the games that Atlanta won, they blew out the Wizards, and the Wizards defense also fell apart in the second half of the season post All-Star break. But then again, you could look at it and say, okay, well, John Wall might be a player who's better suited for the playoffs. I mean, if he's hitting his jumper, it's going to be really tough for the Celtics to win the series. I mean, the game plan on him is pretty much always go under the screen and make him beat you from the mid-range. And he did just that in their first-round series against Atlanta. So the Celtics are going to need, in addition to good defense, some luck, because he's going to get a lot of open mid-range shots, and the Celtics are just going to have to hope that those are going to rim out. All right, final thoughts here before we wrap this up.
Isaiah Thomas is going to have a very good second round. He's going to win probably 2 games for the Celtics in the closing minutes. He's only shot 21% in the first round from 3. It's going to go right back up to a more normal number, like 38%, closer to 40 anyway. And he's going to be one of the big differences in the series.
Jay Crowder's going to have a big series. This is the team that started all the Jay Crowder talk. Jay Crowder has a personal vendetta against the Washington Wizards, and this is a prime opportunity to show what he's got.
Yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot about how people don't think the Celtics have another level. And I think that Horford is going to take them there in this series. I think he's going to play a little bit more on offense and take the scoring lead, and I think we hopefully take the series.
It'll be difficult to replicate that performance against the Bulls, but if he performs like close to that level, I'll feel really confident.
Switch everything. Don't let them. They don't have to run Isaiah around. Just switch.
I mean, I think both teams are going to go to like switching defense. I mean, it's the way you want to play. The Bulls couldn't really exploit these mismatches. It's possibly the worst post defender in the league, guarding a top 10 player. All right, that it?
That's it.
I think so.
That'll do it here at Celtics Roundtable on the Boston Celtics newsfeed. We want to thank Tom, Lucky's Pipe, for joining us. Where can we find you on the internet?
At Lucky's Pipe.
We also want to thank Jonathan Levy and my brother Jonathan. I'm Matt and Ignal. I'll thank myself. We're excited for this game later, and we're going to be back with post games and more playoff coverage, going over schemes and adjustments and individual players and things that we're seeing on the floor. So definitely stay tuned for the rest of our playoff coverage. Hopefully there'll be a lot more of it. Follow us on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. Rate and review the Celtics newsfeed on iTunes, and we'll see you tomorrow.